Mary Jane, I know I look like Frodo and a fish at the same time, but I can't love you because day by day I'm
Peter Parker, you're coming with me. That kid's not going anywhere, bro. You threw a car at him. What? He's fine. No, dude's a legit pancake now. Hey, was he wearing a Spider-Man costume under his shirt? Wait, is that him? Did you just kill Spider-Man? No, of course not. Parker was supposed to tell me where he is. Yeah, he's not telling you shit now, Inspector Gadget. Did someone say Spider-Man? I knew it was Parker. You're fired.
What's going on, guys? It's Ross here, finally back on MGF Customs for the next custom LEGO minifigure showcase video of the Spider-Man No Way Home project. Of course, today we are finally doing the proper showcase for Peter 2, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man from the Raimi trilogy, and this is the last of the 3 web slingers that have taken an absolutely ungodly and unbelievable amount of time to fully 100% paint by hand. Of course, guys, as you well know, based on the previous video where you already saw this minifigure and all those that came before in 2022, these all start out as a blank minifigure and then you're just going from there. I cover a lot of that in my Patreon tutorial series that I just launched, but I'm really excited to talk more about it with you guys here today because this is easily my favorite of the 3 Spideys that I've painted, and it was so worth it to finally arrive at this point. So I hope you'll stick with me throughout the rest of the video, guys, because unlike the previous, we do actually have the fully painted unmasked Tobey Maguire head, which I'm really excited to show you in just a few minutes here. And so with all of that said, tally ho. You know, I rewatched Sam Raimi's original Spider-Man trilogy with Tobey Maguire, Peter 2 here, while making this minifigure almost twice, actually, and I kind of remembered that one of my earliest memories when I was 4 years old was an acrobat in our local mall during a Christmas show who said hi to me and then literally jumped off of the second level of the mall and then just started running along the first floor, and I never forgot it, and I legitimately think that very well might be my earliest memory. And then obviously the trilogy went on to inspire my entire childhood more than any other Spider-Man. Of course, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is ultimately my Spider-Man that I grew up with, like so many of you. And so you can imagine how excited I was when, of course, Tobey Maguire returned as the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man of the original trilogy in No Way Home, giving me the opportunity to make this custom minifigure and really take on all of the challenges that would come along with it that thankfully I was really prepared for. When I made Peter 3, that work on that custom minifigure helped to inform everything that I did here. And I guess for lack of a better term, I achieved what I guess you could kind of call something at least close or adjacent to mastery of painting custom LEGO Spider-Man suits. In other words, this was the most prepared I had ever felt when tackling and fully painting a Spider-Man suit than I ever had before, because the integrated suit and especially Andrew Garfield's The Amazing Spider-Man helped to prepare me for this. And so as a result, I think that this turned out to be the best of the 3 web slingers that I painted here for the Spider-Man No Way Home project. And so, of course, I don't want to be too redundant here. You have already seen this minifigure, save for the unmasked head that we'll get to in just a moment, but I really just cannot understate a lot of what has already been said before in just how wildly challenging it is to go from a blank LEGO minifigure to many months later of on and off work, eventually arriving at this end result. A lot of what makes fully painting Spider-Man suits so difficult, and you know, I cover a lot of this actually in my Patreon tutorial series. I filmed the whole process. It's just the higher stakes that come along with this kind of work, right? You go from the prep, and then you go to painting the suit texturing one mark at a time, to eventually doing the suit mapping where all the gray sections have to go, then the silver, then the red, and eventually filling everything in with all of that webbing being as organized as possible, and really practicing so much intentional thinking and just practicing so many little micro considerations along the way to know exactly where every line of webbing is going to go and where each one is going to connect, and making sure that it's accurate, making sure that it's cohesive, making sure that it all makes sense, because Tobey Maguire Spider-Man recreated as a custom LEGO minifigure, possibly for the one and only time that I was going to have the chance to do it. I wanted to make sure that I did it right and to the absolute best of my ability. Of course, along the way, there were so many critical junctures that I've already talked about, like getting the lenses right. It's so fundamental, and also the fundamental lines that stem out from the lenses. Wrapping a full 360 around the minifigure head all looks right and makes sense. However, one thing I can't move on without mentioning, of course, is painting those spider symbols into the pre-existing webbing, right? Of course, imagine doing all of this highly intense micro precision paint work to get to the point where you're painting spider symbols into all that work you already did. So there's little to no room for mistakes on the front, and then there's absolutely next to no room for mistakes at all on the back symbol. And that's something that I really wanted to drive home, because it just really makes for the most dreadful moment, I think, of painting the Spider-Man suits, are those symbols into what you've already painted. And not only that, of course, but the webbing wraps around all four sides of the minifigure. So that includes, of course, the sides of the torso and also the sides of the legs inside there. And also, as a side note, the webbing even continues onto the top of the body without the design ever getting messed up. I mean, it's just so worth it in the end, though, because this suit and these movies and No Way Home means so much to me, and that's why I've always been okay with however long this project needed to take, because it was just ultimately so worth it in the end, even though I can assure you that I am so completely and absolutely done painting Spider-Man suits. I really am just so excited to not have to do this for years to come. I think painting 3 has been more than enough for me, and now this is the painted Tobey Maguire No Way Home likeness that I did just for this minifigure and the sculpted hairpiece. So essentially what is so fun about this is actually I will have a printed version of this face pretty soon here, along with a really great custom hairpiece too that's actually going to be, I think, plastic injected or something from Crosscheck Design, because I took direct inspiration from their Tobey Maguire to recreate it here for this custom minifigure, because unfortunately I couldn't really wait that long to have a Tobey Maguire head to use for my custom minifigure. And so while watching Spider-Man 2002 one night, I think I recreated their design and painted it freehand within about a couple hours, and then I sculpted the hairpiece, I think probably the following day or something, and it turned out okay. I'll be the first to admit that it's not perfect, it's not absolutely 100% Tobey Maguire's hairstyle, but I think it gets close enough for now, and eventually I will have a better hairpiece for him. So let me know what you think down below, guys. I mean, I just am so unbelievably happy with how this turned out. It was so challenging and so wildly time consuming, of course, to create all 3 Peters, but ultimately it was worth it, especially now that I get to finally show you guys the end result, and soon all 3 Peters together for the bookending Web Slingers showcase video. And so with all of that, guys, I think we're going to go ahead and start to wrap it there, and I'll go ahead and actually put Peter 2's mask back on, and now it's time to wrap up this video. What's that for? It's my web fluid. It's for my web shooters. Why? Whoa! Bro! You guys can't do that, huh?
Yeah, no.
Alright guys, and there you go. That is it for the final standalone Web Slingers showcase of the Spider-Man No Way Home project, of course here on Peter 2. It is so rewarding to finally set up a shot like this. As promised, there will be a final book-ending Web Slingers, I don't even know, it's not really going to be a showcase, but just a final video on these 3, and it's so awesome setting up a shot like this and just beginning to tease what they look like all together. And I've purposefully been saving it for when we would arrive at this closing point pretty soon here, and I'll be doing so many edits of these together over on my Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and all those places if you'd like to catch me over there and check out any of my digital Photoshop edits for the teasers and previews that I always post long after actually the progress price goes up over on my Patreon. They have been seeing Peter 2 here for like probably a month and a half at this point as I've progressed along the making of the minifigure. And of course, if you've had yourself inspired to work on your own custom Spider-Man suits or attempt any of this for whatever reason, the long form tutorial series covering exactly how I painted the Raimi suit here is available over there if you're interested. And so all of that is always linked below, guys. I'm always working on something, even if I don't always appear to be here on the main channel. But in closing, I guess I always forget to mention it, but dropping a like down below always helps out the channel, of course, and I just really never remember to say that. However, that is going to do it for now. As promised, I will be switching back and forth between projects going forward, so now I'm going to be completing Thor and Smart Hulk and continuing the Avengers Endgame project finally before we move on to the villains and Green Goblin, Doc Ock, and Electro. It's going to be really cool in 2023, guys. I know it's taken, just like I said at the start, an ungodly amount of time, but I so appreciate all of you guys who are still here every time I come back with a new video. So, as always, keep creating, and I'll see you next time. All right, bye-bye.